Is that my cue? All right, there's the cue. Let's get this going. So tonight we're going to do a State of the City presentation. I will be the sole speaker unless we have some questions at the end, which we can always open the floor to that. So I appreciate everyone coming down. We've got a good set of citizens down here, and I know there'll be some folks online either watching it live or later on after we publish it on our YouTube channel. So with that, let's go ahead and kick this off, and let's just talk about what we did in the city over this last year and where we kind of see things going over this next year. And I would like to give accolades to our unicorn, Olivia, who has put together this great presentation with some great visuals, and she's just done a great job on it. So thank you, Olivia. So let's kick this off. Let's hit that next slide. So as we all know, the city of Lake Stevens has come a long way from its roots in timber and tourism to a thriving, growing residential city that's still closely connected to the natural beauty that surrounds us. We're the last stop before Washington's wilderness, the gateway to adventure, before you start hitting Mount Baker, Snoqualmie National Forest, and skiing the slopes in the Cascades and hitting the shores of Lake Wenatchee, all the great amenities that we have to the east of us. Lake Stevens is truly that gateway to get to those places, and we recognize that as a place that people transit through our community often. Next slide. So here's some of the things that we do. We are at about 41,000, a little over 41,000 people. Put that in perspective, 2008, we were 8,000 people as a city. So we have grown immensely since then. And so some of the things that we do are police, administration, finance, IT, community development, parks and rec, and public works and human resources. And we're going to get a little bit more into what each of those departments' accomplishments have been over this last year, which have been many. Next slide. We like to talk a little bit about our funding and where our funding comes from. A lot of folks look at their property taxes and think it all goes to the city, but it doesn't. And that'll be the next slide. But this slide shows you roughly where the different sources of revenue are that fund the city, from taxes to different miscellaneous revenues, licenses, and permits are all in there as well. Next slide. This is that property tax breakdown of the different entities that take in that property tax, those sources. And you can see the city of Lake Stevens is a 0.71 cents on every thousand out of your property taxes. The good thing about Lake Stevens is a couple of years ago, our sales tax began to surpass our property tax revenue, which is kind of where you want to be, is a good mixture as far as making sure that the city's healthy in revenues to keep our cops going and our public works and our streets and all that kind of cool stuff running. Next slide. So we, as a financial health of the city, we ensure that we balance our annual budgets. We do have a good, strong general fund reserve. We do financial audits every year that we pass. There's a great story in this last year of we went out for a bond measure for our City Hall project. And during that process, we were upgraded in our financial health to a Moody's rating of AA1. And there's only one higher rating. And one of the things, and we'll talk about it a little bit further on, that was noted in that rating change was all of the policies and procedures, updates and upgrades within the city that came from our American Public Works Association accreditation process that we went through. So that was recognized by the bond rate setters. And what does that mean for citizens? When we did go out for that bond, we had cheaper money. We were able to borrow money at a cheaper rate. And so that's a great reflection upon the great hard work of our staff getting us to that point, and shows our great financial health. Next slide. Comprehensive plan. Russ's team did a great job in creating the comprehensive plan that started back in spring of 23. Looking at all the new state mandates and different things that a city has to include in their comprehensive plan, and then launched into public engagements and making sure that our community members were a part of that comprehensive plan build. And in October of this last year, that was presented to the city council, and it was approved by the city council. So some of those things you'll find in that comprehensive plan is the way forward for the city, where we're going to be, what's our population projections are going to be, what our housing projections and our employment projections are going to be. So if you really want to know about the city, that's a great place to begin, is in our comprehensive plan for the next 20 years. Next slide. This is that American Public Works Association accreditation. One of the things that I recognized several years ago when I first became mayor is that we needed to upgrade how we were providing services to our citizens. And part of that was very much within the public works sector. And after attending a couple conferences and seeing, I'm a checklist oriented person, so I saw this American APWA accreditation checklist, and I saw that as a way, as a formalized way forward for the city to make sure that we're updating how we're doing business. Remember that 8,000 to 41,000, like the city just didn't grow with that, right? So this was a great checklist of accreditation that kind of forced us to make sure all our good policies and procedures and how we were doing service with our citizens was followed. It took us roughly 3 years to go through that process. We had to first get right in some areas before we could even start the checklist. And it's really a cool testament that you have only 7 cities in the state of Washington who are APWA accredited, and only 214 across the country. It says a lot about your city. It says a lot about your city staff. It not only fixes what happens in public works, but it bleeds over into your HR and into your finance and in your community development because they're all supportive of public works. So great testament of hard work and diligence in getting that project done. It could have been one that we could have easily let it slide, like, hey, this is too much work, we don't have time. But the reality of it is we had to get it done and get us where we are today. Some of the things that come out of that process is also a culture change. It's something I like to talk about within the city, a culture change within not only our employees, but also within our citizens, right? And one of the things we'll talk about is Citizen View, but now when you come to work especially at our public works, you know what you're going to do every day. You have work orders and you have an expectation and accountability to get those work orders done. And it really changes the culture across the board, not only in public works, but in your other supportive areas. And it's really fun to see Aaron and his folks doing great work for public works and doing great work for our citizens. And yeah, very, very proud of what we did on that accreditation. All right, Citizen View. So Citizen View, we launched Citizen View last year. And if you don't know what that is, hit that QR code up there. And that will take you to an app on your phone. And you can download the app. And as you encounter an issue, a problem, whether it's a pothole or a cracked sidewalk or a missing sign, or you just want to let the city know about something, Citizen View is a great opportunity for you to do that. My 4-year-old and my 3-year-old know as I take a walk that if there's a crack that Dad's got to take out his phone and report that problem. They are very good Citizen View stewards, and sometimes it makes walks kind of go long, which is fine. It's what we do. And, but Citizen View is great. We've done over 8,000 work orders from Citizen View this year. So please keep using that, keep getting the word out to your neighbors. It helps us know where the problems are, and we can get to them and triage them, get a work order on them, and get to work on them. Let's hit the next one. Just Serve. Just Serve is a service platform that we are pushing hard this year. We started it up early this year, and then what Just Serve does is it's one of the things I hear quite a bit is we have a lot of folks either organizations who have service projects they want to do, but maybe don't have people to help them do the service projects, or people who want to do service, but they don't know where to go to do service. So Just Serve is that platform. And what we're asking is that service organizations and people who have opportunities for service to post those on Just Serve so that our citizens can then see this as the place to go for service opportunities within the community. The city has a site on there. You can go to that site and it'll take you to the service opportunities that the city has. And we're connecting with our service organizations and churches to do the same thing to build that spot out. There's a great opportunity. Cities who really use this platform get thousands and thousands of service hours logged, which is great in community building, and then it is great as it helps the city in beautification or whatever it might be that those service projects include. So scan that QR card. I think Olivia QR code this whole thing. It's great. This is a great little trail that we started this year. It's something I ran on several years ago that we needed to get a power line trail underneath our main power line that runs north-south from 20th all the way up to Soper Hill. So this last summer, we were able to start that section. And so currently from 20th Street to 12th Street under the power lines in West Lake Stevens, it's called the Bayview Trail. And the reason why we're calling it the Bayview Trail is it's a partnership with Marysville that as we build north, they're building south, and we will connect to their Bayview Trail. And so eventually what will happen is you'll be able to go from 20th Street all the way into Marysville, all the way to the Centennial Trail, and from there, anywhere in the world for the most part on a trail, kind of. But let's go back to that. But we did do a groundbreaking in there. Part of that trail is a dog park that we're looking to open this spring. We've got a little bit of wet problem going on in there that we're working through a couple of solutions for that, but we hope to get that dog park open within a month or so. We'll see. And then this summer, I don't know if we talk about it later on, but this summer we'll do a little bit more of that trail from 12th to 8th. And then we did a $500,000 ask of this legislative session that it looks like we're going to get that will help us to do the design and engineering from 8th Street. And I'm not sure how far that money will go, 8th Street, and we're going to try to get to 204 on there. If we can get that design and engineered at that part, and that's actually called phase 1, then we can go out and ask for some additional dollars to get that portion of the trail built. And just keep heading north. Next slide. Some great accomplishments of our departments. The police department did their reaccreditation for WASPIC, and of course passed that. They've worked quite a bit with the ICAC unit, which is the Internet Crimes Against Children. That's a little passion project for me, making sure that our kids are safe. And lots of public records requests within the police department, over 1,600. And they also hosted a Citizens Academy, which I highly recommend all of our citizens take a look at. It's a 9-week course that shows you what our police department does and gives you kind of an insight as police operations. Our Public Works Department, I've talked quite a bit about them already, but one of the things that we did there is we picked up some grant funds to do some watershed and stormwater infrastructure management, which is super important because we have the biggest lake in the county to make sure that we safeguard and have good water quality. We also, as as we've obtained a couple more buildings, we've created the facilities division within Public Works. We had a great opportunity to build out sidewalks, 3,000 feet of sidewalk along 91st as part of the Transportation Benefit District. And then one of the things that we recognized within all of our school zones is our school beacons were, the little flashy signs. They were all different systems, and some were archaic and some were, they just didn't talk. So we wanted to make sure our schools were safe when it comes to traffic. And so we went out and purchased all new beacons for all of them that can be controlled centrally. So if school's out for the day or there's a delay, we can change those times on those beacons and just really understand that those lights are working when our kids are in school, which is important. Next slide. Community development talked about that. They went through their comprehensive plan update. Some of the things that you're seeing out in the community that are the community development department has helped out with. You're seeing a South Lake Stevens Business Park. That park is going in behind the Burger King down behind Tom Thumb. You are also seeing the Snow Isle Library come out of the ground. That's super exciting. I was up there today taking a look at that project. It's a little easier to visualize now as they've started to lay some foundation up there. And then we have the senior apartments and the assisted living apartments that are going on up in Soper Hill. That's becoming, I think, one of the biggest buildings in the city right now, isn't it? Four or 5 stories, right, Russ? So that's exciting as well. It'll create a great opportunity for the seniors of our community who want to stay in our community to move into what might be less maintenance kind of housing and create some generational shift within our housing market as well. Parks and Rec, if you don't know, we stood up our Parks and Rec department 2 years ago. And so Sarah in that department is really still building out that department, created the mission vision statement, done a lot of documentation on all of our parks. If you saw recently, they threw out the first activity guide of what sorts of activities are happening in our parks this year. And we did do a road dock replacement at North Cove this year to support our great rowers that are out every morning on our lake. The more good stuff to come from the parks this next year. Next slide. Human resources passed a personal risk audit, and we were able to hire. We wanted to make sure that our employees are working safely and that they have the proper training. And we created a coordinator position there to ensure that. We continue to be a WELL City. If you don't know what WELL City is, it means that our city the staff of our city adheres to several, are you getting your steps in and are you eating healthy and those sorts of things. And so it helps us with our insurance rating, and we've done that for 15 years in a row. And the HR brought on 30 new employees, and we've promoted 11 internal employees as well. Finance, talked about them a little bit already. Good, clean financial accountability audits done by the state. We adopted, obviously, the annual budget for the year, and then the Moody's rating upgrade to AA1 is a great addition as well. Next slide. City administration, we created, due to some increases in staff, what we had was a kind of a disconnect between our customer service. And so what we created was a municipal services division to help with our customer service and communication and transparency. Great new little section. Those folks have processed over 1,900 public records, which takes up an incredible amount of staff time. As you can see, over 2,200 hours of fulfilling public records requests. We've continued some great legislative outreach through our lobbyist, Trevor. And And then they also work on contracts. One of the things that's been worked on this past year is moving all of our data, cleaning our data, normalizing our data, and then digitizing our records, so that we're more responsive in record requests and being able to do better data management as we move forward in kind of an AI world. That's going to pay us a lot of dividends in efficiency. Our IT, that's that SharePoint migration, 900,000 files of movement in SharePoint. We also brought on a part-time security analyst to make sure our cybersecurity is up to date and being monitored. We increased some city cameras in our parks to make sure our folks in the parks are being safe. And then expanding our GIS as well, which is very important to make sure our assets and everything within the city is managed efficiently. Let's hit the next one. Our transportation benefit program. So this is this last year. So the voters in 23 voted for a transportation to fund the transportation benefit district, and now it's called the Transportation Benefit Program. And in that program, we prioritize many sidewalks, and the first sidewalks that we were able to construct off of this program is the 91st Avenue. So from Lake Stevens Middle School down to Market Street, and it was fun to watch that project. A lot of good lessons learned on that project. But what I really enjoy out of that project is now I see a lot of people walking that you didn't see before because it just wasn't safe. And I think that that's a pretty cool testament to walkability within the city, that if we can make it safe for our citizens, they want to be outside. And so great opportunity. We did quite a bit of pavement preservation as well last year. 113th, some sections on 20th Street Northeast, and those other projects. And when we do those projects, what we're doing also in there is we're doing sidewalk improvements and ADA curb upgrades and crosswalk upgrades. So whenever we are able to do those preservation projects, everything gets upgraded in that section to make sure that we're up to current codes and just having a much safer city. To the next one. So this year, this is what we're looking at as far as pavement preservation. We're looking at doing 116th and 117th. We're looking at doing Vernon Road from Callow Road roundabout to Mitchell Drive. We'll get pavement preservation, and then 20th to 26th Street. That should actually be East Lakeshore Drive, right? Because we already said that up top. It should be actually East Lakeshore Drive. We're going to get a section of East Lakeshore Drive done as well on the pavement preservation. The big thing we're looking at right now is that 116th, 117th Avenue Northeast one-way couplet, where we have a lot of issues with the 116th, 117th, and it's not just speeders, and it's not just the amount of traffic that's on those streets. Those are all problems. But we also have a walkability problem. It's very difficult to walk on those streets for those residents that live in there. So we're looking at an idea where we create one ways on those streets and then walkability within the current lane spaces that would allow for traffic to move, slow down traffic as well, and then create space for people to get out and actually enjoy their neighborhoods and walk it. So we had a great open house on that last night with several people showing up and talking about the project. We have a pilot project set up to do, I think it's the first or second week of May for about 4 weeks, just to see how this is going to work. If it's going to work well or not work well, get some data on it, and then make a decision on whether or not it's the right thing to do up there. So more to follow on that one. And one other thing on the Transportation Benefit District, another project that's the next project is going to be Lake Stevens Middle School, 91st to 20th. And we have an ask on Safe Routes to School on that for a grant to get that one done. We'll know in a couple months whether or not we get that money. Hopefully we do, and then we can do that one next year also. So just getting sidewalks done. That's what we got to do. Capital projects, some of the ones we completed, again, 91st, the Bayview Trail, the pavement preservation, and then we did quite a bit of striping and thermoplastic. The thermoplastic lasts longer than if we just paint crosswalks. The thermoplastic will last longer. We bought some thermoplastic equipment as well to do our own. And then this next year, what we're looking at, you're already seeing the construction on Main Street. We're doing a beautification reconstruction on Main Street from essentially the mill down to the Boys and Girls Club. If we can work out a couple more details with Seattle Light, we'll get the Frontier Heights Phase 2 project done. I've talked about it. We'll get 0.5 phase of the Bayview Trail done. That's that 12th to 8th Street section. And then the pavement preservation we talked about as well. Another really cool project that we'll get done this summer, and we're going to put that out to bid pretty soon, is along 131st, which is the road that goes into our industrial area. We're going to go ahead and put some infrastructure in there. So sewer and broadband and a multimodal trail along there as well, so that we can get more walkability in that area and provide the infrastructure into our industrial area so those businesses can build out more if they want to. So that's the goals for this year. What do we got next? One of the things we're working on, Russ is the lead on this one, is our City Hall Municipal Services Campus. So last year we purchased, if you know where the police station is, and you know where the subway building is, where the subway's at, we had owned those buildings. We bought the other two buildings in that complex. As we looked around at the City Hall needs, we saw that one of those buildings will fulfill those needs. And we were able to go out and bond the money to purchase those. And we're in a design and engineering phase now to remodel one of those buildings into City Hall, and another building into a city council chambers. And we did that without raising any additional revenue to fund those bonds, which is great, as we didn't want to go to the taxpayers for more money for this project. Some of the things you'll probably see in there is one, better services for our City Hall departments. We're looking also at a passport service opportunity in there as well. We have lots of people going to Granite Falls for their passports, and we should probably keep our citizens home for that. And the other ancillary things that'll happen off of that is open up parking downtown here at North Cove, because we'll be able to vacate the buildings that we have currently for City Hall. And we're looking hopefully in a spring of 26 for that whole project to be done. Next slide. So it's fun to watch this list grow every year as we get bigger as a city, and as we get a little more advanced as a city, we start having the same events planned every year, and our citizens going to these events. And you can see the great list that we have up there. So far, one of the great ones that we always do all summer is the farmers market, which really brings a great community feel downtown, as well as the harvest market, and then Aquafest as well. The Aquafest is fun to watch this year, where they're shifting the dates so that we can try and so that we can bring in a carnival this year. That's Chris Jacobson did a great job in wrangling that this year. So Aquafest will bring a carnival back in this year and help them remain sustainable. Next slide. One of the things we use is a company called Zen City, and Zen City does a lot of community survey engagements for the city. So they have a constant community survey that's going on, so we can kind of understand what the citizens are feeling about. We can do some pop-up surveys as well if a special topic comes along. And then one of the things that I really like about Zen City is all of our projects that we're doing, our project managers can easily go in, create a page for that, and then our citizens can go in and see right where right where the sidewalk project is for 116th, 117th, right? And then that project manager, as things update, they can go right in and update that site, and our citizens can easily go in and see the information on the project. So Zen City is a great partner for us, and a great opportunity to share and be transparent on what we're doing within the city. Some of our other great community partners out there, a lot of our civic organizations, the food bank does such a great job for us. The VOA within the food bank, our community resource center with Tina Mandela does just a stellar job with our folks who might need a little help to make ends meet. She does well. Many of these, for those of you who don't know, I do a monthly leaders roundtable, and many of these organizations have a representative, and we sit around right here in this room, and we just see what's going on in the city with all these organizations and do some collaboration and planning if we need to, so everyone knows what's going on in the city. And then, of course, our fire district folks with Surfer, great partners. Next slide. Before I open the floor to questions, I want to just talk a little bit about some of my thoughts about our community, and what makes Lake Stevens truly special. Isn't just our progress or our projects, it's the people. It's the wide range of talents that live in the community, often quietly, often behind the scenes. We have people with the talent of kindness, the ones who check in on our neighbors, who take time to listen, who offer a smile when someone needs it. There are those who have the talent of generosity, giving their time, their energy, their skills to causes that matter. Whether that's mentoring or coaching or volunteering or stepping up in a crisis, their impact is deep and lasting. Some have the talent of organization, the ones who plan, coordinate, and make things run smoothly. They bring people together and make community events feel effortless. Others bring the talent of creativity, artists and musicians, writers and builders, people that aren't necessarily me, but I'm glad that they're in our community because they add so much. There are those with the talent of leadership and those with the talent of service, people who gather others, who lift up the quiet voices and who move good ideas into action. They're kind of the quiet heroes within our community, who show up and you may not see them. And I have to say, I really, really appreciate them because it makes my job easier. It makes the city staff's easier when we have so many people who are so talented in our community that make our community great. And with that, I'll open the floor to any questions that anybody might have on the state of the city. And if there are none, then I'm done. Great.
Sure.
Good. Yeah.
What's your vision for this, like 10 years from now? What's your vision of what the city looks like?
10 years from now, I think that due to planning, we've obviously grown a little bit more, fortunately, unfortunately. I think that we have built out a community. You know, one of the things about our community is a quarter of our population is under the age of 20. So we have so many little kids running around, which is great. I've contributed to that myself. And I think that where we are 10 years from now is we've continued to build out the resources and the assets needed for our families to thrive in our city. There's some things in progress, in process, that I don't want to get too deep into that will really flourish that community asset idea. Community parks, the community parks area from the county as well as Cavallaro are two great sites that have some great visions, that there's just a little bit more tweaking that we could really move forward our city and our community into being an even more active city. And that's where I see our city in 10 years, as a very active, young, family-oriented city. Yeah. Great question, Nathan. Steve.
Follow up to Nathan's question there. So 2023, our city was at its my mic's not working now. It's the fifth safest city in the state of Washington, 67th safest city in the country. And in 2024, our crime rate went down 20%, the most recent information. To what do you attribute that reduction? You talked about the great citizens we have in the community, our outstanding police department, but do you have any other details you can share there?
I think, obviously our police officers work very hard in that. I think that our community businesses work towards that as well. And then our citizens as well. When you're a family-oriented community like we are, I think we keep an eye on each other's neighbors, right? Keep an eye on the neighbors, right? And really create that public safety through awareness of what's going on in our communities. Obviously our police officers, if we could hire more, I would love to hire more. But that just becomes a constraint sometimes. But I'm hoping that we can keep that public safety up. I have some concerns about that. And I think that we can mitigate that, one, on a lot of levels. One, making sure that our police officers have what they need. Two, making sure our community members feel supported when they do have public safety concerns. And then I think another big part of it is legislatively. There are a lot of legislative changes that happen that are felt at the mayor level, at the city level, that aren't necessarily felt at the legislative level. And we need to make sure that as city council members and as community members and as mayors, we are a voice to change a lot of the state level thoughts and policies to make sure our communities are more safe.
Thank you.
Yeah. Anything else? Nathan's got another one. Nathan's full of questions. No, you're good, Nathan. Go.
So I appreciated what you said there in response to the question. Can you touch a little bit on business development specifically? Right, I appreciate that the less likely or less frequently I need to go to Everett on a date night with my wife. Right, and she requires that. Agreed. No, I love dating nights. I love not going across the trestle. Right. Again. For the fifth or sixth time that week, right? Mm-hmm. So can you talk a little bit, you don't have to get into specifics, but what's your vision for that business development side of things? A big constraint we have in the city is land. Like we don't have much land left. And if we do have a little bit of land left, it's already kind of figured out what's going to happen to it, whether it's a house or whatever it might be. One of the big constraints, one of the areas that we could do some commercial development, but it's really difficult to do so, is along 20th Street Southeast. But our constraint there is the Everett water line and what we can and can't do on that Everett water line. And so until that's hammered out and fixed out, which I'm hoping, which I've been saying for 5 years, we'll get that figured out. But it's just a really difficult discussion with Everett. And so that's an area that once we get that figured out, I think you'll see some commercial development flourish along 20th. The other area that as we build out the 131st project with the sewer and the infrastructure, we already have some folks in those areas wanting to upgrade what they're doing with their property. So what that means for Lake Stevens is increased jobs, maybe less trips across the trestle because folks are staying closer to work, hopefully, and living here in Lake Stevens. So it's difficult because of the land issue, but I think you're going to see some movement as we do those projects, and then as some of the other projects that'll happen where we'll start seeing some mixed use, taller buildings coming up in the city. Those will include some retail and some commercial space as well. Good question. Yeah. I would love to tell you, and I would love to tell you that we could immediately do sidewalks around the lake. They're in that list that we prioritize. They're just not high enough in the list of priority. When we look at our kids going to school and the safety issues that they have, we really need to focus on those first. Some of those projects do start coming up in, say, the next 10 years, though. So Transportation Benefit District is a 10-year
project. So we'll go back to the voters in a couple of years and approve the next 10 years. I think you'll see some of those lake projects start popping up in there. I wish someone would have thought about it 50 years ago and really planned that one out, but they didn't. And we have what we have, and we'll get there someday. Great. Well, I want to appreciate everyone who came tonight. I appreciate the questions. I want to appreciate the city council. The city council does, if you don't know it, they do a lot of behind the scenes work, whether that's coming prepared for council meetings, or whether that's going to meetings, or whether that's meeting with citizens. The city council does an immense amount of work, and it shows. And what I would really like to say about the city council is I appreciate their focus on making sure that the city is moving forward, mostly in public safety and mostly in infrastructure and economic development. I absolutely appreciate that. Staff does a stellar job. I am blessed and fortunate to work with them every day. It's not only an environment that we get things done, but it's a very fun environment, and I enjoy that. So, and mostly I enjoy the citizens. The citizens last night, we had a great opportunity for an open house, and not all the citizens agreed with what was being done, and that's great. But a lot of ideas were exchanged and thought through, and that's what local government's all about, right? So I appreciate all the citizens who participate in our community as well. So thank you, and we can stick around and chit chat, or you can go home if you want to. So appreciate it.